So as the artist, what have you learned about yourself from becoming the CEO? What have you learned about yourself from being in business? I, you know, I think it's hard. My wife is a true artist. She paints, she draws, she has a furniture restoration business where she reimagines furniture, uses wax. She's a true artist. What I do, is questionably art or not, but whatever. I think you could be a great plumber and have your art of plumbing. But so what have you learned about yourself from going from this artist to now business guy?
I even when I was working on music full time, which I did for about a decade, and it worked. I mean, we built a business making music. Even when I was doing that, I spent a lot of time doing business. So in the early days of the internet, at least in the early days of e-commerce, like before Shopify existed. Oh, I guess Shopify had just started, but I was using this company called eJunkie to sell my MP3s online direct to fans, and I would keep all of it, as opposed to the iTunes, giving iTunes the cut. And I was when I first started in like 2008, 2007, I was making $500 a month selling MP3s, and I really enjoyed the business side of it. I really enjoyed figuring out the kind of mechanisms to make my art self-sustaining.
Do you feel conflicted at all? Like I just heard from other artists, they feel like, oh, I'm selling out, or feels icky, or did you have those apprehensions?
Oh, I think I did back in the day, and I got over them very quickly, because the ultimate, what I kind of learned and realized is the ultimate sellout is if I had to stop doing music. Like, it's a much better path to figure out how the music can be valuable enough to other people that they'll pay for it. I much prefer that path to like getting a job that I don't actually care about and spending my days doing that. Think about all the songs I wouldn't write. Think about all the the cool sounds I wouldn't make if I spent my days doing this job I didn't like. So I got super excited about the business end, and I also just legitimately enjoyed it. I enjoyed figuring out the online interfaces and kind of how to talk to fans, and I always liked that stuff. And the fun thing about Patreon is I'm surrounded by people who are so much better than me in all of their fields. We've hired experts now who are just so good at what they do. And so like part of my job is just learning from them about like, okay, here's how you run a P&L. Here's how you set up a P&L. Here's how you do a monthly finance meeting. Here's what you look at. Here's how you scale operations, and here's how you set goals for teams, and here's how you work with teammates. Here's how you manage people. Here's how to have difficult conversations. Here's how to, to do conflict work together, and all those kinds of business practices. I've applied back into Pamplemousse and Scary Pockets, and I've really. Gosh, maybe I'm just nerdy. I've found that I really like that stuff. It's not all of it. A lot of it's no fun, but some of it is really fun, and it's cool to see how you can kind of take some core principles around like goal setting, for example, or a monthly finance meeting, and apply that to a funk band. Like it works. It's not the same thing. It's not one for one. But if you make the appropriate tweaks to solve the problems that you're trying to solve for the funk band, you can actually have a monthly finance meeting that really helps the band achieve its goals and be more successful and reach more people and spend its money wisely. And gosh, I love that part of it. So what I found is I really enjoy the intersection of business and art. And I believe deeply that artists should be paid for their work. I know there's a lot of artists who, oh gosh, I've talked to thousands of artists now who have this sense that like, I don't deserve to be paid for my work. Or maybe it's not even deserve, it's just, I don't want to be paid for my work. And I just want, if I could help creative people in one way, it's just like understanding their worth. As creators, I'm sure you can you can, attest this, but you open up your YouTube dashboard, you see your ad revenue. You do that every day for a few years, and suddenly you start to think, oh, maybe I do just deserve $100 a month. Maybe that is my impact in the world. And then you see your view counts, and you're reaching millions of people, and like, no fucking, I don't know if I can swear, but like, no,
Yeah, go ahead.
no fucking way. Like, artists
Yeah.
are so much more important than that. Artists are so much more valuable than that. And I believe artists should be paid for their work, and I try to embody that spirit in my own work as well.
Yeah. And if I could add to that, it is frustrating, or has been frustrating, pre-Patreon and some of these other platforms, because as an artist, you do feel sort of like it's a lonely road. And like, if you could just focus on the art, right, and not have to worry about the finance part of it, it's such a drag sometimes, and it's so hard. If there was just, Jack, a turnkey solution where I could just put my art up and like, it could take care of everything for me, if there was just that kind of platform, right? So
What a great idea.
thank goodness there's a Patreon. I want to go back to this funk band idea. I had this vision. I sort of had this little, in my mind, this little movie, this, kind of recap where you're crunching the numbers and you say, I'm glad we did this post-mortem analysis on a budget. Turns out we don't need 2 bass guitarists, and then one of them's like in the corner and he's like, oh, he sort of slunks out the door like, you're right. We don't need 2 in this funk band, just one bassist will do it. So,
But what you just said, even like the post-mortem analysis, we don't use that term. We call it a retro. But like at Patreon, we do retros when a project finishes. What worked, what didn't work, what do we want to do differently next time? We started doing that at Scary Pockets on our video shoots. What worked, what didn't work, what do we want to do differently next time? And it made every video shoot so much better. It's such a simple tool. What worked, what didn't work, what do we want to do next time? You take 15 minutes, you brainstorm as a team, and then you commit to like, okay, here's the changes we're going to make. Having that 15-minute meeting after a practice like that, after a session, it just makes every session better. Then when you go to the next session, oh my gosh, we had lunch, so we didn't have to walk to the thing, so we had an extra hour, so we could record an extra song. Boom, you just improved the economics of the whole business, because now instead of recording 4 songs in a day, you're recording 5. Like, and it's because you employ these little techniques and tricks,
Or just stumbling onto the idea of batch processing versus one at a time, right? Like the efficiency of batching.
Totally, yeah, and the batch model, which is what Pockets does and what Pamplemousse does, but batching our songs and producing 4 songs with a band in one session as opposed to doing 4 different sessions. Gosh, that's like that. I don't want to call it an innovation. It's not an innovation. It'd be silly to call it innovation, but like that model makes Pamplemousse and Scary Pockets economically viable. Without that little thing, both of those bands would have to like completely retool our creative processes, and our businesses would be completely different. So yeah, it's a great example.